You can't trust people. That's the beginning of my sermon. You just can't trust. I mean, you can depend on people, but you can't depend on people all the time. You can depend on some people sometime. You can depend on people longer time, but you can't depend on anyone all the time, everyone all the time. People will let you down. Do I hear an amen? Don't point at them. People will let you down. And this evening is an evening of worship, of praise. And I want us to remind ourselves where our confidence lies. Where is our confidence? Where's our strength? Where's our trust? Where's our refuge? Just one verse. It's skipped over twice with two different words. It says, it is better to take refuge in the Lord, translated Yahweh, than to trust in humans or man, than to trust in mankind. It is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in princes. We do that again. It is better to take refuge in the Lord, Yahweh, than to trust in man. It is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in princes. Interesting. So this is a psalm of praise. It's a call of one person who's been given the mic, and he calls the whole nation to thank God. He calls the whole nation to praise. And as he calls, he says, give thanks. He says, give thanks to the Lord. Why? For he is good. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, and his love endures forever. Then he says, let Israel say, and then he takes the names of different tribes. He says, come on, you guys repeat after me. Now you repeat after me. It's like a worship leader really going for it. And he says, you repeat after me. The Lord, the love of God endures forever. The love of God endures forever. Then as he continues to do that, he goes back to some of the things he struggled in life with. He struggled with in life, in his work, in the temple. He struggled with them, and he's seen life, and he's seen life experiences. And from his life experiences and from walking with God, he comes to this one summation, and he suggests this one great declaration. He comes to this summation. He says, when I was hard pressed, when I experienced life, when life got me down, when I was going through the valley, when I was in the pit, when things really fell apart for me, I cried out to the Lord and he answered me. My friend wasn't there for me. My spouse wasn't necessarily there for me. My children were too busy for me. My friends who I thought were my friends, they were not there for me. I couldn't trust anybody. The people I thought would stick around during the most time that I needed, they were not there for me. Instead of cursing and swearing, you know what I did? I cried out to the Lord and he answered me. And he answered me. Every declaration, every faith, every confidence comes from an experience that is rooted and grounded in the conviction of truth. Truth. And then he says, I cried to the Lord and he brought me to a spacious place. He brought me to an open place. He brought me into more options, into more solutions. So he says, as a declaration, he says, the Lord is with me. The Lord is with me, and therefore I will not be afraid. Amendra just read it for you from Psalm 118. I will not be afraid. The Lord is with me. I will not be afraid. I'm not going to struggle with fear. I'm not going to entertain fear. I'm not going to live with fear. He says, what can mere man, limited man do to me? Now I'm limited. They're also limited. So why on earth should I depend on man? Declaration. He says, the Lord is with me. He is my helper. He is my helper, my comforter, my paraclete, the one who comes alongside. I look in triumph over my enemies. He makes that declaration. So out of his experience of the tough knocks of life, having seen life at its worst, having had all his friends with him and have all his friends leave him, having success and having failure, he's seen the worst of all worlds, worst of both scenarios, worst of extremes. He swung the pendulum to both extremes. And he's come to the conclusion, you know what? There's only one person I can really bank on. There's only one person I can really trust. So he makes this grand summation from his life's hard experience. He says, it is better. It is better. It's not an imperative. It's not a command. He's giving a suggestion, a thought through, experienced suggestion. सब देखा मैंने और मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ. I've been through it. I've met it. I've seen it, I've experienced it, I've been there, done that, and I'm telling you, it is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in humans. It is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in princes. Now, the word Lord from the original is the word Yahweh. The word for God was different, the general God of the universe, the living God. But this was the covenant-keeping God, the God that you had an actual relationship with. Not, oh my God, oh my God. The actual God you connect with, the one you know. He knows you and you know him, and you know that he knows you and he knows that you know him. That one. The one whose voice you hear, the one who understands you, the one who has walked with you, who holds you and carries you through some of the toughest times. Some of you don't know him. Some of you don't know him, and that's why I'm telling you this evening that he can be known, and that he is worthy to be known, and that he is the one who is worthy to put your whole life on. Some of you are tired of depending on people. Some of you are exhausted. Some of you are at your wit's end. There's never ending either poverty or financial issues or relational problems or some problem or the other. And there's no one person you can run to who doesn't have his own set of problems and say, can you help me? It is better to trust in Yahweh, the covenant God, the covenant-keeping God, than to put your trust in humans. Refuge, trust, two very important words you want to learn as you think, live, act through life. The word refuge is to find your hiding place. To find your hiding place. You need a safe in the house. You need a safe place, a secure place, a place under lock and key where you can keep your valuables, where you can keep your secrets, where you can keep your fears, where you can keep your uncontrollables. Some place where you can hand it there and be confident, be assured that it is safe, it is taken care of, it is being watched over, it is being looked after. That's refuge. You can run to that place every now and then whenever you've had a tough time. When the week's been hard, when people have said the meanest things to you, when you've struggled with your own blackness, darkness, brokenness, and limitation, there's a place you can run to where you can be safe. That's refuge. It is better to take refuge in the Lord. In the Lord. And the Lord is not a place, the Lord is a person. God is a person. And God has always wanted you to hide in him. God has always wanted to embrace you and cover you and hide you in him. It is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in humans. To trust in humans. The word refuge is to put your confidence in, to hide your valuables, to hide your fears, and to hide your pain. Now he makes a slight tweak to the end and he says, instead of man, he uses the word princes. Now why would he do that? It is better to trust in the Lord than to trust in princes. Now why princes? I'll tell you who princes are. Princes are your best connections. Oh, I know a guy, I know somebody. Oh, don't worry, yaar, I know somebody. In India, North India, you can't do anything in this life without knowing somebody. Or you know somebody who knows somebody until the middle guy moves. He's gone. That guy is still there, but this fellow's moved to Canada. Princes are your connections. They're the people in power, people who make decisions for you, people who know that you know, and then you take great pride in the fact that you know them. I mean, but it's not a logan that you don't know. All of them are in power, but there's some people in government who have the emblem, the Government of India emblem, and you're like, I know them. I personally know them. You're my friend. I know them. I can walk. Those are the princes. Those are the princes. It is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in princes. Princes are your influential relatives. मेरे पास uncle है. I have an uncle. I have this one. I have that one. My auntie is the vice principal of whatever. Maybe that's your confidence. Or just friends. You got a friend in high place. That's your princes. So you can't always trust man, and you can't always depend on man. You can't always depend on your connections, on your contacts, on men of influence, people of influence, those who you think, because even they will let you down. Hey, now we're not saying that they are no help. We're not saying that man can never help you. We're not saying that you can never depend on anybody. Oh, Pastor Jeremy said, don't depend on anybody. Ye nahi bola maine. I did not say that. Don't hear what I'm not saying. Don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying don't depend on anybody. I'm saying that not everybody can be depended on all the time. And at the crisis, at the moment of truth, just when you most need it, they will fail you. They will fail you. They'll fail you for two reasons. Number one, because they're limited. And number two, God never meant for anybody to be your rock and refuge. He wants to be it. He wants to be it. So He'll even let you fall face down, plant your face straight in the ground, learn your lesson, get up and come running. As this psalmist says, I came to the Lord, I cried out to the Lord, and He led me to a spacious place. Princes are your connections, your people in power. So my friends, as I conclude, your willing trust, that secret assurance deep in your heart, that thing you know to be taken care of, that assurance you have that all is well, that comes from what you have put in God's hands. Now, if you don't know God, it's a different conversation we need to have. If you have not had a relationship, you don't have a relationship with God, if you have not taken care of your offense with God, if Jesus has not carried your sin to the cross and nailed it, if you have not done your business right with God, if you are not currently in a right standing with God, you have a different problem. You need to solve that first. But for those who are in a relationship with God, your willing trust, your secret trust, your confidence is your choice. It is your choice. God can be capable of being there for you all the time, but He's not going to unless you depend on it. You didn't hear me? See, I lost you. You didn't hear me. You can have a totally amazing, dependable person, but what's the point if you don't depend on that person? Your willing trust, your confidence is your choice. It is your choice. It's your decision. It's you who take your burdens. You who take your fears. It's you who take it and you who dump it on Him. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. You're the one who has to do it. You're the one who has to. You are responsible for a relationship with Him. You are responsible to take it and give it to Him. And once you have given it to Him, you can say like the psalmist, it is better. It is better to trust in the Lord, take refuge in the Lord, than to trust in man. You'll have the same testimony when you've done the same thing. You're banking your whole life on somebody. For God's sake, don't let it be a person. Don't let it be a man, a woman. Don't let one person be what your life revolves around. Or people, or the crowds, or the world. Don't let it be people. They will let you down. When you have become popular and the crowd gives you the likes, they can drop you as fast as they picked you up. They can drop you as fast as they pick you up. The same person who said you're amazing can turn around and say, you're not amazing. So what's it going to be? Who are you going to trust with your uncontrollables, your fears? Who are you going to put the deepest, darkest fears, your failures, your worries, your concerns, the curses from the past, the blessings of the future? Whose hands are you going to put them on? You can't handle them. You don't know anybody else who can handle them. God offers Himself through Jesus Christ saying, hand me. Come unto me all who are burdened and heavy laden. I will give you rest. The only one to guarantee and offer and hold to His word. It means your choice. It is your responsibility to come to Him. Who are you going to trust with your limitations? Who are you going to trust with the future of your children? Who are you going to trust with the future sustenance as you grow old? Nobody wants to hire you anymore. Nobody wants to work with you anymore. Nobody wants to work with your ideas anymore. You're not as hot and happening as you were 20 years ago. As you find yourself becoming more and redundant, more and more irrelevant to the world around you, you get worried, you get scared. Who's going to look after me in the future? The same God who was there before you were born is going to be the God who's there after you're born. Yes, you can depend on people, but you can depend on God all the time. Where is your trust? Not man. Not because he will let you down, but God, because He will never let you down. Not man. Not because man will let you down. Don't go around saying men are useless, men are bad, I don't care for anybody, I don't trust anybody, I don't depend on anybody. Don't be one of those. You need to grow up. Because maturity is interdependence. It's not dependence and it's not independence, it's interdependence. We are here for family. We're here for each other. We're here as a society. We're here to make a valid contribution to the people in our lives, valid contribution to our government, and valid contribution to our culture. We are here to give and to get. Grow up. So don't say, I'm not going to trust anybody. But don't trust everybody and anybody with everything. There are certain things you need to put in God's hands, and there are some things you can put in man's hands. And you need to know the difference. We call that wisdom. Not God because he will never let you down, but God because he will never let you down. And the reason that God never lets you down is what makes him worthy of worship, why we're here this evening to worship God. That quiet confidence, that rest, that assurance, that when you live with that assurance, yeah, things are hard. Yeah, it's hurting. Yeah, she left me. Yeah, he said that stuff. Yeah, he did say that stuff. He shouldn't have said that stuff. Yeah, my whole life is now pretty much in the pits because of what happened there. I was out of my control. Yeah, it happens. And instead of getting bitter and winding down, you take it to him. You cry to him. You leave it to him, and you let him handle it. And when you are a person who lets God handle the things that no man can handle, that is your greatest worship.